All right, CC, let's break it down a little. You think the Lakers should shut LeBron down for the rest of the season? How does that help and or hurt him and the team?
And I would say, as far as my sports opinions, typically I come from a traditional standpoint. As far as Zion, the question, man, should Zion shut it down? No. Should guys play in the bowl games? Yes. Because I know that whole process of playing, it gets you better. But the difference is all these kids are at the beginning of their career. And now we're talking about one of the greatest of the greats in LeBron James. What should the Lakers do? And if you had asked me this question a month ago, I'd have been like, oh, absolutely not, man. He's got to play. Man, the people have paid their money for their season tickets. Like, it's part of his responsibility. They got a greater responsibility. If they're going to try to win a championship in LeBron's tenure, because he signed up for 4 years. He's not doing a one-by-one like in Cleveland. You know you have him for 4 years. So you have to look at it, and I never thought that I would be on this. I would shut him down.
Wow.
And the reason why I would shut him down is because he doesn't look like himself. Last year played 82 games and was brilliant in the playoffs. And when LeBron said last week he was going to hit activation mode, but nothing happened. I've never seen that before. So that right there, to me, that's the reason why I would shut him down. I believe that he's not at his playing weight. I believe that his groin is still bothering him somewhat. And I don't think you gain anything by putting an extra 15 to 20 games on LeBron at 38 to 42 minutes. What do you gain? LeBron James is about a couple things. All right? Number one thing now would be to secure another free agent or two to be able to come to the Lakers. And then after that, it's about how do we get this to the parade? How do we win a championship to get to the parade? All the other stuff does not matter. So I would not play him. I would not put those minutes on him. I would give his body the first time to decompress in years. You're talking about 13 years since he's been in the playoffs? Regardless of what kind of athlete LeBron is, it takes its toll. And I was listening to David Griffin last night. I got a lot of respect for his sports and his opinion on the NBA. And he just talked about the greatest players that have ever played the game. When they hit the wall, typically there was no comeback from that. So once their skills started to decline, they started to fall. It was hard for them to get back ever to that level. And it's a perspective that I had never really looked at. But when you look at the greatest players, it's pretty consistent.
And David Griffin, people don't know, he was the GM of the Cavs for LeBron's first 3 years back there, was not the GM last year. Now he's doing some media with NBA TV. LeBron also said some other things that we didn't have the tape of where he was very definitive. He's like, I'm going to play. He talked about how it would take the highest levels of Laker leadership to try to convince him otherwise. He said, if I'm healthy, I'm going to be out there because there's always people watching. Now, I understand what you're saying, and I agree it is all about championships. It is all about what puts the Lakers in the best position to compete for a championship, and that's why I would not shut LeBron James down. He has played at least 85 games every single season of his career since year 3. He's played at least 79 games every year of his career since his rookie season. He has been on 90-plus game seasons since the lockout year. He's going to max out this year at 64 games. Either way, he's going to have 2 months off this year that he hasn't had in a decade. And the idea of having a guy who has trained himself to be ready for April, May, June, we know it's ending in April. That it might now, for some people, think it should end in March. I don't think that would be best for him. I don't think that's the way he gets his cardiovascular back where it needs to be, his conditioning back where it needs to be. I don't think that sets himself up for the offseason the way he wants to.
Well, his cardio is not that important. Right now, it's the injury and his weight. All right? I believe you can get your cardio back. There's a number of ways he can do it. But the decompressing of your body, if 2 months is good, then 4 months is great. All right? LeBron should be able to, because he hadn't had that opportunity. And he's dealing with a body that did not respond to the injury the way he thought he did. I'll go back to Steph Curry's words. Steph had a very, very similar injury, missed 11 games, has gone on to finish this or continue with this season with no type of setback. He said, you got to watch it. This growing, it's a little tricky, and I didn't think too much of it, but it makes me go back and seeing LeBron where he is right now. Now, there is no bigger fan of LeBron James. But for right now, it's about perseverance and trying to get the best basketball out of him. So why should I waste 15 games at the end of the season that doesn't mean anything? It's not going to help get Anthony Davis there. It's not going to get Kawhi to come there. It's not going to make Kyrie come there. So why would I do it?
I don't think they should continue to play him 40-plus minutes as he has, I think, in 5 of the last 8 games. He's played more minutes per game since the injury than he did before the injury. I'd be totally fine with 32 to 36 minutes, which is, by the way, what they wanted him at the beginning of the year before panic set in. And if you're going to say he's not going to play back-to-backs, where he's going to be on a very cautious load management. But I don't think LeBron would accept being shut down the rest of the season. And the element of what the other quote he had is, he said, you got to play because there's always somebody watching. There is an element of he has a greater responsibility to the league and to the paying customer than any other player in the league. He is the biggest draw of any player in the league. The Warriors might be the biggest draw as a team.
Yes.
But he individually.
Yes.
And
I understand that. And that's a reasonable approach. Michael Jordan always said, I don't know the one time that you're going to get there to see me play. And I respect that.
Right.
But right now, LeBron's got several championships. And it's about not how many points, not how many assists. Forget the league right now. It's about LeBron. And if he wants to get the best out of him, I believe he's wasting his time on these last 15 games.
But you mentioned all the years that LeBron has played, how many minutes and how many games has played. LeBron James has never had an injury like this. He's never said, oh, I'm going to go into activation mode, and then activation mode not worked. He's never had a team that he couldn't get to rally somehow. So do you think there is something positive about him maybe sitting down, that maybe this other team can figure out, the team without him, how to make it work without him?
No, I don't think there's any positive team-building part of it, because next year the Lakers are going to have a different coach. If the offseason works out the way they want it to, they're going to have a drastically different team. All the guys on one-year deals are going to be gone. They're either going to bring in, if they works out the way they hope, a key free agent, or they're going to trade guys for Anthony Davis, potentially both options if it's the ideal offseason. No, it's not. But I would like to see LeBron, when Lonzo comes back, see how, because they haven't had a bunch of time working together. They do need those extra reps. I do not think if LeBron plays another game this year, 40 minutes, that's insanity. That we can totally agree on. There should be no game where it's like, we wanted to rest him more, but we got a chance to win it. They are done. They were done in my eyes before last night. Now it's all but official. They have, according to 538, the same chance of the #1 pick as they have of making the playoffs, which is 1% on both ends of it. So it's cooked for the Lakers at this point. I just don't know that if LeBron will be in best position for 2019-20, having played less than 50 games when he's used to playing around 100.
Yeah, so I'm going to play 15 games with Lonzo, who potentially won't be here next year. But I'm going to put those games on LeBron. That overall developing the rest of the roster, that's on the coaching staff and the front office. That's not LeBron's job. His job right now is try to figure out what is the right weight for me to be able to go at. And I just believe that rest. After playing as many playoff series as he's played through the years, forget about the physical pressure, the mental pressure. Ain't no need to go 0 dark 30 this year. We might as well get him on the show because he's going to be available. He should be resting, trying to get ready to secure one of these free agents. And also, he should be reflecting on how we put this roster together. Don't try to do that mess again. You can't be trying to put together a defensive team when this is the shooting NBA, get some space, make some buckets. That's what they should be concentrating on compared to you don't gain anything these last 15
And that lack of shooting was glaring throughout last night, particularly in the first half.
Lakers dropping another one, this one to the Clippers. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.